Since this all boils down to vaccine nationalism and the multi-country macroeconomic impact it could have, I want to bring in Deputy Director at the Central Bank of Nigeria, Mrs. Margaret Ogundono. She joins us now from Lekki, Lagos. Mrs. Ogundono, thank you for joining us on Diplomatic Channel.
Good evening, Amarachi. How are you today?
I'm good. And you?
Fine, thank you. And thanks for having me.
Well, it's great to have you here. So now, according to the RAND report, all countries will benefit economically if the world's poorest nations have equal access to any COVID-19 vaccines developed. And high-income countries would get back about 4.8 dollars for every $1 spent on supplying vaccines. What do you make of this?
I think there's some macroeconomic fundamentals, like rightly mentioned, that we have to consider. When you talk about the rich countries and the poor countries, I want to assume that if it is expected that if they are able to invest 4.8 naira, dollar rather, and hoping to get what I would like to call return on that sort of investment of $1 each, I think is unrealistic. Why I'm saying is unrealistic is that that assumption says it is all things being equal, and we know that there's a pandemic regime. I don't expect that any rich nation will invest that kind of money and expect that kind of return on its investment. We're talking of pandemic here, where people are dying. And I think it may not be business as usual. It may not be what they are expecting. I think there's more of humanity involved in them investing in those vaccines and making it available to the generality the world over, because the pandemic is global.
Yeah, and this is a scenario that Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, the new Director General for the World Trade Organization, is the scenario she was painting a few days ago when she warned that a phenomenon where rich countries are vaccinating their populations and poor countries have to wait has to be avoided. How then do you think developing countries like Nigeria, for example, can help fund the procurement of vaccines?
Nigeria is classified as a less developed nation. And be that as it may, is one of the largest, or in fact, is the largest in the continent of Africa. So which means it's a force to be reckoned with. Now, from what Dr. Mrs. Okonjo-Iweala said, I want to assume that that narrative sends it to the rich nations that it can be they can't take that decision without giving consideration to the fact that these poorer nations apparently contains the market. And I want to paint it from the economic perspective. The richer nations should assume that we have a relationship which I want to consider as being symbiotic. Symbiotic in the sense that they need us, we need them. And that is why Mrs. Okonjo-Iweala said that rich nations should consider not just whatever investment they may want to have with respect to producing the vaccines for the poorer nations. They have to mellow it down. And mellowing it down means it won't be just everything about investing and wanting to make money. And now to come to Nigeria as the largest nation, Nigeria, because of its population of about 200 million people, and with the fact that it also has a standing task force on this COVID pandemic thing, shows that it's very serious about it, and it will be able to afford, whatever it will cost it to procure those vaccines for the benefit and the medical welfare of its citizens.
Then how effective do you think the COVAX finance public-private facility, given its stated targets to mission to expedite early availability of vaccines, is to lower income countries?
Yes, that COVAX is a global initiative, and it is aimed at ensuring equal access to the vaccines. And that COVAX is led by this organization called Gavi. That is the Global Alliance for Vaccines and Immunization. And it also has on board the WHO, and it also has the Coalition for Epidemic Preparedness Innovation, that is CEPI and others. It's a coalition of about 145 members. And what they decided, well, among others, was that the vaccine to be produced by the alliance between Oxford and the AstraZeneca, which will be about 12 million doses, should be available to all its members. And what they also planned is that by the time those 12 million doses of the COVID-19 vaccines are available, at least those of the medical personnel on the front line, they should be given priority to be immune against this COVID pandemic, because they are the ones taking care of other people. And at least at the end of the first quarter of 2021, it is also expected that at least 3% of the population of those 145 member nations, shall I say, should have been vaccinated at least by the first quarter of 2021. So it shows the seriousness with which COVAX has taken on this initiative to ensure that at least the COVID pandemic is mellowed down. And as you can see, I think they are making progress, because the euphoria reduced a little bit, because they've been able to ensure that the death streaks due to the COVID pandemic has realigned a little bit downwards, should I say.
About 75% of global vaccines have already been procured by developed countries. If we do manage to procure the vaccines needed for the continents, then there is an issue of proper storage and efficient distribution across the country. What logistical plan then needs to be in place to impact efficient management of these vaccines?
Let me take us back to the same anxiety which was expressed when the issue of polio came on board. And then part of the concerns was that if they were able to get those vaccines for the polio, how are they going to store it? But given the fact that this one is even worse than polio because it's global, and I've been trying to follow up on the activities of the task force. They have been trying to make necessary infrastructures available to ensure that when those vaccines are available, they are properly, in terms of logistics, they are available, and they've expanded the storage facilities all over the Federation, because I listen to their activities through the media on a daily basis. So I don't have any, we shouldn't express any apprehension with respect to the capacity of the government in ensuring that if those vaccines are available, there will be adequate storage, and there will be adequate infrastructures, especially electricity, to protect and make those things available to wherever they are required, through the hospitals and and all those places. And in addition to that, the government of Nigeria, in partnership with many private organizations, have been able to be proactive, should I say. Many of those private sectors set up isolation centers to assist and support the government initiative with respect to taking care of the patients who are affected by this COVID. And some of them even went to the extent of even procuring the vaccines. And I think with that, with the infrastructures available and the proactive step taken by the government, I think we should encourage them further by motivating them with our words. I think they are really doing the best. And I don't have any apprehension. We shouldn't have any apprehension with respect to us getting the vaccines and storing it as up for eventual distribution to all those hospitals and those isolation centers.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Ogunana, for speaking with us. A pleasure having you on Diplomatic Channel.
Thank you very much for having me.